Joking, it is live right now. We are live. it When it says live, it means live indeed. We're talking about the Secure Act. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. It is a special Monday night edition of Afro Economics Live. And I am so excited for this opportunity to be together on a Monday and a pre-holiday Monday at that. We're talking about setting every community up for retirement enhancement. That's where they got that acronym SECURE from. It kind of forced it, right? Setting every community up for Retirement Enhancement Act of 2019. It is one of the biggest retirement changes that we've probably seen in the last decade. And I mean, it's not even a big deal, and it is the biggest retirement change. And it started in the Senate. It started in the House of Representatives in July. It was approved, and we talked about it back then in the summer. Then we moved forward, and it went on to the Senate, and it kind of got stuck. So about a week ago, I said it's probably not going to finish before year end. So we'll be looking for the Secure Act in 2020, because I thought that I was right in the summer, and then I thought I was wrong, but then I was right. So it did indeed get signed by the president and approved by both, overwhelmingly approved by both political parties. So if people start complaining about the Secure Act, well, we'll have to blame it on both of the major political parties because they voted it in. Good evening back at you, Monica. Good evening, Joanne. Good evening, Karen, Latrice, Marcia, Mr. Lewis, Terrence, Mr. Jones, Valron, Andrea, 301, 703, 202, 804. We are rocking this thing with the Secure Act, setting every community up for retirement enhancement. Wow, we got to make sure that every community includes the Afro economics community. It has some significant things, but are they significant to you? That's what we want to find out. So key changes there are, it says it is this is from their documentation or information on the reports and stuff from the government. It's a far-reaching bill, which includes, and it's a law now, includes significant provisions aimed at increasing access to tax-advantaged accounts and preventing older Americans from outliving their assets. So so it says access to tax-advantaged accounts. So my first question is, what is the access to retirement accounts? And two, how will it help prevent older Americans from outliving their assets? Well, access to retirement accounts, that's a business. That's a business opportunity that has been opened up. So I guess because we work for businesses, the majority of people, even I just happen to work for my own corporation though, but it is important. An important part of the Secure Act is that it is opening up the opportunity for more small business specifically to set up 401ks. That's what they're trying to do. That's what it is going to do. Allow small businesses to consolidate so that we can lower the expenses involved in offering 401ks to small businesses. So that is a key change there. So the Secure Act will make it easier for small business owners to set up retirement plans that are less expensive and easier to administer. Most of the expense in these retirement plans for small businesses is the administration of it. Thankfully, I started my business in 1995, so I was able to do what is called a SARSEP before they were discontinued, but they are a great plan. And many part-time workers will now be eligible to participate in employer retirement plans under the new law. And the act will also push back the age in which retirement plan participants need to take the required minimum distribution. And that's where it's allowing your money to last longer. So and I'm gonna continue, we're gonna go through this gradually. So according to data from the US Bureau of Labor, they said that only 55% of the adult population even participates in a workplace retirement plan. And according to this US Bureau of Labor Statistics, they said that even those who are in the plans are seriously behind when it comes to investing part of their paycheck into a retirement plan at work. That even though they're in it, they're not doing what they should be doing. And the wealth management giant, this according to this article, Vanguard, for instance, revealed early in 2019 that the median 401k balance for a 65-year-old or older was just $58,000. So this new law aims to encourage employers, your job, to help you have access to a plan. And most of you out there listening are like, okay, you have access to the plan. The challenge is putting more into the plan, right? And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're focused on, that's why the 10 principles of Afroeconomics are so important. So if it's making it easier for small businesses to set up the 401k plans, it's also even paying them. They're giving a tax credit of $500 per year to employers who create 401ks or simple IRA plans with automatic enrollment, meaning they will have to get you to go into it automatically. You don't have to stay in it, but when you get the job, they're setting it up that they will automatically enroll you, and there'll be certain criteria that they have to do, like have to be providing you with a certain amount of money. They'll have criteria that they have to reach. And then because of the criteria, they're giving them a tax credit to help you do that. Now, this Secure Act, they're giving a tax credit to the job, to the employer. So the Secure Act will enable businesses to sign up part-time people who work either 1,000 hours throughout the year or have 3 consecutive years with at least 500 hours of service. So that will help the part-time employee. And it says it will enable, meaning that doesn't mean they're not forcing, because businesses really could have covered small part-time people anyway. The business really chooses not to. And then push back the age, and I spoke about this, push back the age at which retirement plans participants need to take that required minimum distribution from 70 and a half, that required minimum distribution. That means that you are required, like with Social Security, you're required to start taking it at 70 and a half. So that hopefully will be pushed back as well. And then, but on your retirement accounts, say you have this lump sum of IRA, I've run into this all the time, and I just love it when the client has this problem where they don't need their money and they're 70 and a half and they don't want to take money out of their IRA, but they have to. Well, those who are not 70 and a half by the end of this year, within the next week or so, they don't have to worry about it. They can wait until 72 to begin taking money out. And I have a client that I talked to last week that this is applicable to, because she turned 70 and a half in January. Yep. So if she doesn't really need the money because she's still working, she could actually delay another 2 years. She's going to be glad when I call her, because I don't think she's logged in. And then allowing the use, this Secure Act is going to allow you to use a 529. If you had a 529 set up for your education and the children received, or even you took out a loan, but you had a 529, probably none of you listening, but your kids might. So say you have a 529 for your kids, and then you also had to get a loan. And then This will allow a qualified student loan to be repaid by your 529, up to $10,000 annually. And then the penalty-free withdrawals of $5,000 from your 401k to take care of the cost of having a child or adopting a child. I don't know where that comes in. They just kind of threw that one in there. Penalty-free withdrawals of $5,000 from a 401k to defray the cost of having or adopting a child. What does that have to do with retirement? I'm taking money out. Kids cost a lot, but I guess maybe a lot of people are taking money out and facing tax penalties because of a childbirth or adoption. So hopefully this is because there's a lot of people doing that. I have never run into that, but it might happen. Like it might be the year after you had a child and you end up and you go, whoa, we need some money for the child, or we need some money because we're not, or we have some money because I've been out of work. And, this way you won't have the tax penalties because of course you're probably under 59 and a half and you'll have those tax penalties, or under 55 for a 401k withdrawal. So that you could take the 5,000 out and not have the tax penalties. And this will also, the Secure Act is set up to encourage employers to include annuities in their 401k plans by removing, get this, removing the employer's fear of legal liability if the annuity provider fails to provide, and that's something, to provide the security that is needed for the employer. So basically it's saying that employers are worried about the employee, but if they add in these annuities, then that is making the employer not have to be liable, reducing the fear of the legal liability by incorporating annuities. Interesting. We'll have to look at that deeper. But annuities are owned by insurance companies. So they're basically saying by incorporating the insurance companies, the annuities, then the employer is able to get rid of some of their liability. And so the annuities in this instance are to kind of set up your own personal pension, not the annuity where a lot of you may have, where you just take your after-tax money for tax deferral, or take money from a retirement account and set up an annuity. But this will give you an option, most likely, to put a certain amount in this option, and you'll be guaranteed this amount of income for the rest of your life, because so many employers have moved away from having pensions. So they want to help you. But those are the type of things that you have to make sure that you get your own personal investment advisor. Not just not a financial person, but you need to be working. When you get on this level and you have those type of questions at work, you need to be working with a registered investment advisory firm. And I've seen so many employers now bringing in these investment advisory firms onto the 401k. So, and you're paying them a fee to basically send you statements. But that's what they do, what I do. You're not connected to the product. They're supposed to be helping you with planning, and they're charging you a fee, where, Afro Economics provides those services. And I have been able to save people thousands of dollars that they've been paying because they became a full member and were able to avoid that huge fee that was coming out of their 401k each month. Each quarter, and over the year, it really adds up. So definitely, when it gets really sticky and you're trying to decide between, should I add on this annuity or should I add on this? Or I even help with the investment options within the 401ks. So I think that these things are cool, and it's going to be great for employers, but as an employee, you have to have an even greater responsibility of how to take care of yourself and to reach your goals. And another one of the key changes with this new law, the Secure Act, is the removal of the stretch IRA. And this involves a non-spousal, like your children, inheriting your IRA. So if you had your 401k and you rolled it over to an IRA and your children will inherit it, well, this new rule requires that all of the money be out of that inherited IRA within 10 years of the death of the original account owner or holder. So that's the point to that is, and you know, because it's amazing, because it makes you think, like, you know, what would be the point? Why would they do this? That they would want to have control over who I leave my money to. Well, what happens is getting rid of the stretch IRA, where your spouse, let's get this straight, your spouse can always take over your IRA. So what we're talking about, the changes for a non-spouse, like you pass, your spouse takes over your IRA, then your spouse passes, it's got to go somewhere. So the IRS is going to get the money eventually if you don't spend it. So now they're saying, instead of you stretching that over your beneficiary's lifetime, now you have to have it empty within that 10-year period, that non-spousal beneficiary. So this is where you really, when it gets to estate planning and planning how you want your assets to be passed on, we really need to have that discussion on what would be the best option, how to set it up, who to leave it to, how to do the tax planning. And, you know, eventually all of the taxes have to be paid either way. So I don't think that, even though we're going to hear a lot of drama and a lot of people trying to get you to do some really scary things, I think that we have to be very calm and realize that the taxes do have to be paid. So there are things that you can change going forward, but the biggest point here, I believe, is just teaching our young people about what they need to do with their inheritance. Or even yet, what if the person that was inheriting it, you know, was 2 generations deep, not just that next generation, you know, that, so those are the type of things that we have to think about, you know, that how to maximize tax deferral, how to maximize our legacy planning. What does this change mean for our legacy planning? If you're single and it's going to directly go to a non-spouse, this change may mean more to you because it's not going to your spouse and then going to a non-spouse. So, you know, definitely, because remember, spouses can inherit the retirement accounts without it being a taxable event. If they don't spend the money, they can take it over as their own retirement account. But with this new law, the non-spousal beneficiary has to spend the account within a 10-year period. That's not that bad. That's not that bad. Like, I mean, think about if it was $100,000 and they had to spend it within 10 years. In most situations that I've seen, if they stretched it out over 10 years, I would be happy. The problem is most people spend it within a year or two. They don't even do the 10 years. So I think it's like beautiful. Oh, look at Gary, Mr. Robinson, Gary Robinson. You're so good. Good morning, everybody. You are so good. Ms. Hayes said, our firm has Fidelity, but they bring in other companies to push services to us too. Yeah, they probably use Fidelity for one aspect, and then they use the other companies. You know, they could use XYZ insurance company for life insurance, and XYZ insurance company for dental, and XYZ company for disability, and then long-term care and supplemental. They just have all this stuff, different stuff going on. But for this Secure Act, it would impact who you're using for your 401k. and what their options and how they might add different options in. But I've seen more and more 401k work plans, even the government work plan, especially upon retirement, now has an annuity option. I've found it to not be like the greatest. There's definitely much better products out there for you to explore. Don't just default, especially upon retirement, to what they have available to you, because that becomes the time where planning and looking at options becomes very important. And that's why I would hope that you would see value in having an investment advisor like myself that is not attached to a proprietary product. Yeah, that my job as an investment advisor is to look out for your best interest. That is my responsibility. So those are some things. Let's go back. So what does the Secure Act mean to us? I say that it means that the government is prepping itself to make sure that they're in a position to tell us that we're in no excuse for not having a savings to supplement our Social Security. Because there's this is basically a movement to say to employees, say to workers, you have a responsibility to save for yourself. Even if you work at a company that does not have a plan available, you still have the traditional IRAs, the tax-deferred investment options, the Roth IRA investment options. We still have these options. We still can save. You don't even have to be in any of those plans, and people still can build your retirement account outside of a retirement account. You still can save and invest. So this, to me, is a movement, continuous movement towards you have no excuse for not saving to supplement yourself for a time when you don't want to work anymore. So before you leave me, I just want to throw in these key things for 2020. I want us to focus on living below our means, and then also focusing on a homeowner or a renter can both build wealth. So don't feel that because you don't own a home that is an excuse for not building wealth, because a lot of times you can do better than a homeowner by renting if you can cut your expenses and invest correctly. But what happens is home ownership is a lot easier way to save. Now, residential properties are not the best performing investment, but they make it easier. So people who are not savvy investors do better. And most people are not savvy. They will do better by buying a home because it forces them. The home ownership is a forced savings, where if you're a renter and you want to build wealth, you have to make sure that you're paying the rent and you're investing a lot more because you're not paying for the mortgage and the maintenance and the expenses associated with the home ownership. All of that extra money has to be going to asset purchases that can outperform the growth of that residential real estate. But so a renter can easily be more diversified and have better performance and build more wealth than a homeowner who is focusing a lot of their resources on that mortgage and the maintenance of it. But it will take effort. So, but in both cases, we must make a commitment to living below our means. Another point is to increase our income. By increasing our income, we have to increase our skill. We have to increase our value to increase our income. Increase more. We have to bring more to the table, bring more to the world so that we can increase the income that's coming in. And then invest at least 20% of your money or more. And we have to invest it wisely. We have to be aware of where you're getting your investment advice from. I had this very disturbing experience with this lady who moved to the West Coast, and she had an investment and we were building for, I don't know, almost 20 years. And she moved over there and she met this advisor who convinced her, or a salesperson that convinced her that she should switch to some product that he had. He filled out the paperwork incorrectly, and they called me to tell me that the paperwork was filled out incorrectly and what she needs to do. And I called her and she said, boy, you're far away from me. I said, but you're just a phone call. What's the difference? We were miles away from each other anyway. You're just farther, phone call, Zoom, everything, but I said, this is going to hurt you. You're going to have surrender charges now. You're going to have fees that are being charged. The product that you are moving to is far inferior to what you have. Then she said, well, let me think about it. Then they submitted the paperwork again. She was determined to do it. And the person did the paperwork incorrectly again. And I called her and I left her a message and I said, do you feel like this is a huge sign that you are working with someone who is not, up to par? They can't even fill your paperwork out. So what I just say that to say that you can invest as much as you want, but if you don't make wise choices and get information from wise people or get advice from the right people with the right licenses and the right access to options, you're wasting your time. Like in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, he talks about how the first time he made an investment, he wanted to buy some jewels. And he said, well, the advisor said, well, who picked up the jewels? He said, oh, the man that trades horses or whatever. He said, you can't ask a horse trader to tell you how to pick jewels. And that's exactly what this sister is doing. And it will disturb her whole entire future. And she's grown now. It's not the time of her life where she should be doing that. It's like you get all the way here and then this. Create future income and plan for your future. Create a future for yourself. And we can do that by making all of these steps. Living now well below your means, increasing your income, increasing your savings, increasing our skills, increasing the value that we're bringing into the workplace, increasing our businesses, increasing our thoughts, doing more participation, getting more connected to your financial goals. That's got to be what we want for 2020. I know that's what I want. Gary said, folks, don't listen. No, hard head makes a yes, indeed. That's all right. I appreciate you all. And I'm going to continue to do. I just want to let you know I'm fully committed myself to your success. I got 25 years behind me of this firm. I started my firm as an investment advisor. So this is just 25 years as owning my own business. And I'm with you. May God grant us another 25 together. Let's do it. That's all right. Right. Ms. Davis said, I already plan to put that 3.1% raise the government is giving to workers in my TSP. Yes, indeed. Gary, I appreciate you too. God is good. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's make sure we keep this flowing. jb@jbbryan.com. I'm the Chief Investment Officer and President of JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of Afro economics. Let's continue to grow our wealth. Let's continue to help one another. What you learn empowers our community, empowers the nation, empowers generations. So let's keep doing it. Let's stay focused.